So, hello everyone, welcome back. So, I'm here for another book review. If you have been following me, especially on Instagram, this is what I have been reading. Cher Ami and Major Whittlesey, a novel by Kathleen Rooney. This is what I've been reading. I just finished reading it. So, I'm here to give you guys my honest thoughts about the book. But before we go on, I would like to invite you guys to subscribe to the channel to support what we do here. You can also like and comment to help the video get around. So now let's get to it. So I just finished reading this book, as I said, and I don't know why of late, because I actually stopped reading for some years, mostly because of raising kids and all that, and children around the house. I didn't want my books to be torn to shreds. I just started reading again, as I used to read before, and I've since I started, I've been ending up with history books. I don't know why. You can remember I read Lost Honor, and now this. They are all history related because this one is based on true life events. I don't know why I'll be ending up with history books. So as I said before, this is a history book written by Caitlin Rooney. So I think she's a lecturer in one of these schools. So and she teaches something that has to do with history. So she read the history of the Great War, because the plot, the setting of this novel is the Great War. I think World War One. They were calling it the Great War then because they had not seen other wars and subsequent wars that were worse and more terrible than it. So they were calling it the Great War. So the setting is the Great War. And guys, I must tell you this book is a tearjerker. I remember many times reading this book in public and then trying to hold back tears before people start wondering what the hell is wrong with me. Yes, that's me reading it in public, and then the tears are threatening to spill out, and I'm trying to hold it back, but I just could not. It was a tearjerker because it followed all these individuals, how they were enthusiastic, preparing to go to the war. American soldiers from different countries, and then how they went to the war. They lost their friends, they lost their body parts, the emotions they felt, and all that. It was a tearjerker from beginning to end. And then another really interesting thing about this book, it was narrated by two people, a human being. From the name you can see Cher Ami. Cher Ami is actually a bird. You can even see the picture. Is he a dove or a bird actually? Narrated by a bird from the bird's point of view, and then from the point of view of the Major Whittlesey, who two of them are the main characters in this novel. So for the pacing of the novel, it was fast-paced, as you can imagine a war novel would be, and there was no dull moment at all in this book, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if this is the only thing that Caitlin Rooney wrote, but if I see something else by her, I am sure to pick it up and check it out. So the novel also has this angle where it emphasizes the fact that in the Great War, that is World War One, then they didn't have emails and they didn't have all these electronic transmission devices. Not only men were lost in the war, but animals too, because the author made a great effort to even list the number of animals, donkeys, horses, birds, and all whatnot that were lost in the war. So they really made an issue of how the war was a collaboration between man and beast. So I really loved the novel, and it was well written and well paced, and then as in the way it progressed, it was really very interesting. So basically, as I said before, it was set in the Great War, World War One, and it tells the story mostly about the Lost Battalion. At the end of the book, the author actually talked about how she came to write the book. She said She was talking about how it is a true life story actually. It's a true life story, and Cherami was one of the many highly decorated homing pigeons to be deployed by the United States Armed Forces during World War One. As she writes, she said, thanks to these birds, reliability and accuracy in relaying information from the front lines to the rear. So these birds were actually relied upon to relay information from the front lines to back to the base or to wherever their command station was. So she read this history, and then this guy was actually recognized and decorated because he and the Lost Battalion, that the men that were under him, were surrounded. They were lost. They were trapped in enemy territory and were surrounded by enemies. And the story is mostly about the 5 days or nearly a week that they had to spend without food, without water, surrounded by enemies, defending themselves. Many of them died, many lost parts of their body. So the story about their fortitude, how they were able to hold up under the command of this Major Whittlesey in such terrible conditions, and then describing how their emotions, how emotional they were, how they reacted, how they lost friends. You cannot help but keep crying and crying and crying. And then also it also talks about how they fared when after the war. Many of them were not able to integrate back into society. Some were able to, and many were not able to. Some died soon after the war, including the writers, the two narrators of the novel. So it was really, really a sad tale, but I really enjoyed it. So there was a plot twist or an angle that the writer took, because as she talked about that, she was talking about actual historical events, but the characters, she was the one that took the liberty to develop them how she saw fit. And what I didn't really like is the angle that she took, dwelling on the sexuality of the two main characters. She portrayed the Major Whittlesey as being gay, and also the pigeon, the homing pigeon, as being gay. And I didn't really like that angle that she took. That is just me. But then, and there were times when she even went about to describe the sexual acts of the captain or the major between him and his partners. I felt there was really no need to go into those details of how they were actually doing the act. We didn't need to know that. She was simply stated, okay, he's gay and all that, and then we'll move on. And then she really sort of dwelt on that, which I was not impressed by. But overall, her writing was good. The story is a good story, a war story, a story of overcoming even in the face of odds that were highly stacked. So I really enjoyed the novel. So now to the moment we have all been waiting for. Drum rolls, please. So for rating, let me just read this. Said The Great Believer said, both heartbreaking and sharply funny, brilliant and surprising at every turn. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I can tell you that. So I'll rate this book a 3, not because it was not good or not because I did not like it. I liked it. I liked the way it was written. It really touched me deeply, but because of, as I said before, the dwelling by the writer on the sexuality of the two main characters, even going as far as describing the acts themselves and all that. So I did not really like that. So overall, I'm going to give this book a 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And if you have been watching any other previous book that I have rated, you know that for me a 3 is actually a very, very, very good score. So I'm rating this book a 3 out of 5. If I see other things written by Caitlin Rooney, I am sure I will surely check them out. I like the way she writes. It was a good read, and the pacing was okay. It was not too fast. It was not too slow. So guys, that is it. That's my review of Cher and Me and Captain Whittlesey by Caitlin Rooney. So I hope if you see it in the library, you'll be sure to pick it up and check it out and read it. And then I also like you guys, if you know any other book by Caitlin Rooney, please do recommend in the comment section, and I'll look for it and see if I can get it around here. So I also like to use the opportunity to introduce to you guys what I'll be reading next. So this is what I'll be going for next. And I also forgot to tell you that this book was actually recommended by the bookkeeper, that's the person that was selling the books in the thrift shop, and I was not disappointed. So this is what I'll be going for next. This is Captain Corelli's Mandolin, and there's somebody describes it as absolutely brilliant. It's written by Louis de Berneres. Okay, Louis de Berneres. This is what I'll be starting up next, and I'll be back right here to tell you people my honest thoughts about it. And if you want to know my progress, how my day-to-day progress with this book, be sure to follow me on Instagram. So guys, that's it. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to support the channel. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.